Let's go!
There was a lot of news that popped up over the past, even the very minor, like 8 hours since this stuff was announced. A lot of the questions that we had regarding Ever Crisis, a lot of the questions that we had regarding what specifically is happening with characters in Intergrade, right? Maybe even a bit more about what the first soldier is. We actually do have answers for. There is going to be an iota of gack in some fashion beyond the year 2022. But what's crazy is that Ever Crisis is not coming out for another year. It's far away, seemingly to the point where they are backlogging so many episodes of Ever Crisis in these games. Dirge of Cerberus, Advent Children, Crisis Core, Before Crisis, right? Like all these games that are getting these episodic treatments are seemingly going to come out sporadically, right? For God knows how long. I don't know how long this is going to be for. Like Remake Part 2 is going to be out before that. Seemingly this is going to go on for a hell of a long time. It's going to take a while. So that's almost something that we can consistently look for. And I know a lot of people are like, it's on mobile, fuck that. I completely understand where you're coming from. I completely get it. It's on mobile. I don't want to play dumb shit on my phone game. That's stupid. But here's the thing. Mobile's a lot different than it was 5 years ago, than it was 10 years ago, where all mobile games were just super shitty cash grabs and yada, yada, yada. You don't even need to play it on your phone. I was mentioning, dude, I'm not playing this on my phone. I'm playing it on my PC through emulation. And a lot of people are like, wait, you're emulating the game, so you're pirating it? It's like, no, wait, what? People hear the term emulation and they're thinking that you're going to be stealing it in some way. No, that's not the case at all. The whole point of emulation is that you can emulate the phone experience on your computer. You still have to be logged into the store to purchase things, right? It just emulates a phone experience on your computer with better hardware. Many people didn't know about this, right? And I admittedly, I didn't know about this either. But this is going to be a huge boon for anybody that doesn't want to deal with the phone bullshit. I get it. Ever Crisis looks really good. Graphically, the battle stuff looks great. The outside of battle stuff looks shockingly good. These look like they might be really good games. They could suck, right? I'm going to tell you right now, those games could be absolute episodic trash. They could be trash, but from what we've seen so far, they don't. They look like what everyone was asking for. They look like what a lot of people were hoping they would do, which is just to remaster / moderately remake the old versions of Final Fantasy VII. That's what they're doing. So things exist to do this, and we learned this when we were playing Teppen earlier last year. That shit like this exists. Shit like BlueStacks. There is some compatibility stuff every once in a while, but the whole point is that you just log into this thing like it's your phone, log into the store with your Google account or whatever, and you just buy the game and then play it on emulator. But why mobile though? That game's got gotchas. You know, here is why it's not on console first, because the Japanese market of games is so dramatically skewed, so hyper skewed away from console that it's absolutely insane. Console is dying fast in Japan, like way faster than I think a lot of the industry is ready for. So much so that a lot of the Japanese industry is still acclimating itself to getting used to the fact that overseas markets like the US is dominating their sales, even more so than before. The only thing that's doing good in Japan seemingly is like the Switch, because it's a mock mobile / home console. So for the most part, why not release it inherently on mobile? Why not have it be this thing that everyone can sort of have going forward? And of course, I think it's going to come out on consoles eventually. Similar to what they did with Final Fantasy 15's game, like the Pocket game for FF15. I think that's the same shit. But the idea is that you don't have to play it on mobile. A lot of people are worried about Ever Crisis, you know, being a fucking phone game, and I don't, and how you're gonna play it. I don't think you should worry about that too much. You have a computer. So here is the big one. So Ever Crisis This is the mobile games, the mobile remakes of all the compilation games. Shout outs to Audrey. This is some huge translation that comes in very clutch. Young Sephiroth chapters. Ever Crisis is kind of another remake to the original FF7. This is coming from Nomura directly. Using a bird's eye view of the field with chibi characters, but also incorporating regular full-body detailed characters for the battle. Little command-style RPG. The game is to answer those who said that they like the command-style RPG system. This is literally a response that everyone was bitching about. Oh, I just want the old FF7, and this is literally it. This is literally it. They did it. The titles are divided into chapters that allow you to have free gameplay style. The content will cover the original FF7, going through the entire fucking compilation, and technically includes First Soldier. I don't get that. In regards to the First Soldier, as I mentioned earlier, Ever Crisis will also have part of the story within this game. In particular, since the story covers what happens before Soldier was established, we have also added that part for the legendary hero's youth. What they are saying is that Ever Crisis is actually going to finally divulge into the history of Sephiroth that has not really been told before. And this is where I'm a little concerned, right? Sephiroth is a character that you understand how he was created, right? You get how he was created. You get what eventually leads to his downfall, what eventually turns him. But there's like a very large multi-decade history where we just know absolute nothing, right? Where we know literally so little about the character. And I'm slightly concerned about this because this is going to add elements that sort of go into when Sephiroth was not an insane asshole, right? Even before Crisis Core. Well, Crisis Core is like only like a year or something like that before the events of FF7. Even when Zack is like younger, it doesn't take that long. The characters aren't that much different. This is kind of nuts because it's going to go into when he's younger, right? So I'm genuinely curious because this might be stuff that explains too much, you know? It could go into risk of over explanation. This I'm slightly concerned about. Slightly like, I don't know if we need to know all of this, but we'll see. It could be handled well, considering how well a lot of the story and character stuff was already handled in FF7 Remake. If it's being handled by Nojima and a lot of the guys that have already been writing this shit, where this is going to take place. Is he going to be a kid? Is he going to be like Darth Vader? Well, I mean, yeah, it just really depends on how it's handled. All I'm saying is that there's a lot of room to fuck this up. There's a lot of room to ruin, like, Sephiroth's damn character here. Sephiroth doesn't have a lot of character building. He has his establishment and his turn. And that'll make sense, but now they're going to try to sprinkle this in at some point. That story in particular is a huge eye catcher, and we have asked Nojima-san to write the scenario too, so I hope you look forward to it. So that's good. Original writers, original fabricators of the story are going to be handling that. All right, good. They did a pretty damn good job with FF7 Remake already. I'm okay with that. But don't say that I am immediately, inherently 100% down. Just shove Sephiroth's nipples right into my face. Ah! No, I'm like, I kind of, in ways, like keeping him the Jaws of FF7, right? I kind of like that treatment of the character. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of people who want the remaster of other games within the compilation instead of a remaster. This seems like a completely new game, so why did you decide to combine all of them into one game? The concept of this game is to use the original FF7 as its base that players enjoy. 7 for Soldier, 7 Remake are all separate entities, so I don't think this would wrap up the other compilation titles. Will the story be presented chronologically, or will the story of 7 before Crisis leading up to Dirge be rebuilt separately or specifically for Ever Crisis? You will not need to play each title in its entirety before the next. Rather, each title will have its own chapters you can select and play. Think of more of a chronology of FF7. Here's what I'm assuming is going to happen. When Ever Crisis drops, let's just say it's like March 2022, next year. When it drops, they're going to drop one chapter, but it's going to be one chapter for Before Crisis, one chapter for FF7, one chapter for Dirge, one chapter for Advent Children, one chapter for all of them. And then in the next month is chapter 2 for all of them. The next month is chapter 3 for all of them. I think that's like possibly one of the best ways to handle it. Maybe that establishment might change a bit down the line, but we'll see. Each chapter is $20. Yeah, the big question is how expensive is it going to be? Once again, to confirm what's happening, in regards to the chapters, will stories be added as new updates? That's right, new chapters will be added every month. Here's the crazy part. It is retelling the story of Advent Children in game form. Fuck! Okay, so we're gonna do Advent Children. Wait a minute, how does that work? Wait. Advent Children is not a one-focused character story. Advent Children jumps all over the place. We're following Tifa now, and now we're looking at what the hell Sid's doing, and now we're looking at, you know, these stupid triplets doing some dumb shit. We follow different characters. It isn't just Cloud. That happens, that is the main character of 7 Advent Children, right? So wait a minute, the composition of a video game can't be the same, right? You're not gonna be controlling Kadaj or some shit. You're always gonna be Cloud, most likely. So we're going to be following a retelling of Advent Children's story in game form, in actual turn-based RPG game form. It's going to have to be rewritten. It's going to have to be. There's no way they can do the exact same story. That shit is crazy to me. What? Granted, Advent Children is not the greatest narrative in human history. Far from it. But that means that they have to genuinely change the storytelling of Advent Children to fit a game scenario that follows Cloud. Something dramatically different than what the original story was. That to me is super interesting. Wait a minute, are we gonna follow Cloud on like delivery missions and he's gonna have to kill monsters and stuff in random battles on delivery missions? Are you gonna be riding around his bike and shit before you eventually run into Kadaj, Laz, and Yazoo? This is the shit you have to start thinking about. Like, how does that happen? Sounds super interesting to me, you know, that they're gonna turn Advent Children into an actual game. Yeah, how the fuck are they gonna handle Dirge of Cerberus? I don't know, man. I don't know. So here's the next hugest news that isn't exactly news if you actually pay attention to what's going on with FF7 Remake's development. Nomura is not the director of FF7 Remake Part 2, or even the director, seemingly the director of the DLC. There was a lot of slap Nomura at the front and foremost of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Clearly, from marketing perspective, Nomura's name has a large by an association attachment to the Final Fantasy franchise, and it'll help sell copies of the game type of shit, right? There definitely is that establishment. Nomura was the director and the co-director was Hamaguchi. But for anyone that was paying attention to FF7 Remake's development, it mostly seemed like Nomura was more of a creative director and Hamaguchi was sort of leading the project in terms of actual game direction. And now it's official, right? And they're actually making it official that Hamaguchi is now the lead director of FF7 Remake from this point forward, and Nomura is just going to be the creative director. He's going to be essentially not as crazy hands-on, but an ultimate decision maker, because it's obviously it's his fucking baby. He's the guy that chose that Aerith should fucking die in FF7. And this isn't really news, right? He's still going to be a part of the project as much as he was a part of the project before. So here's the other big ass news. While specifically talking about Weiss. Seems you battle Weiss in the DLC. Why did you choose that character? Nomura says, since the strongest character, Sephiroth, is already in the game, we wanted to have another formidable boss aside from Sephiroth, so we chose Weiss. I personally am curious as to how a battle would play out for the first time with Cloud versus Weiss. In fact, I even asked the team to add them as a secret boss ever since the PS4 version. Just to bring you guys up to speed, Weiss is a virtual reality character sort of thing that's a part of Deep Ground in Dirge of Cerberus, which takes place post Advent Children, post FF7, way in the future. He essentially has the thoughts and brain power of Hojo. He's Hot Joe. He's Hojo, but beautiful. It's like he has Hojo's soul in him. Hojo has transferred his fucking consciousness into Weiss and shit. It's actually terrible. And the biggest worry I had was that, wait a minute, we're making this Dirge of Cerberus crap like actual story stuff? And the answer is no. He designed Weiss in the original Dirge of Cerberus, but he was half naked in that game. Seems like he's wearing clothes in this one. Oh, this is a great question. Since he's sort of like a secret boss, I wanted to present him with a sense of richness, so I gave him something to wear on top. Thank you for the wonderful detail. It seems like the battle is done in Shinra's battle sim, but will he be present in other parts of the story? In regards to details, all I can say is please wait for more information. Will there be a new boss character in the DLC? Is that character going to be different than Weiss? Another character from the compilation? The new boss in the Yuffie FF7 Remake DLC is different. As for who else will appear aside from Weiss, well, please wait for more info to find out. Long story short, Weiss does not seemingly have any direct impact on FF7 Remake's story. They're not going to canonically stick his ass somehow from the future back into this game. In fact, his existence in here is probably the best way you could do it. Once again, Final Fantasy VII Remake compilation elements, not handled so hammingly terrible, actually handled quite well. Because what was the character originally? It was in VR, right? This character is actually a digital creation in some weird explanation of the term. So seemingly he is going to be a bonus fight that you fight, and we saw it earlier, he's in the VR mission. A lot of other people are thinking that this is going to be gacked. I don't think this is going to be gacked. I don't. People want this to be gacked because people want FF7 Remake to be Kingdom Hearts in some way. No, I don't think that's happening. I'm about to potentially spoil the Yuffie DLC for you guys. Are you ready? Are you comfortable with that? But I'm going to potentially spoil this for you guys. Here's my prediction. I think the bad guy is going to be original. Right? Who they are going to be fighting against is actually going to be an original character of some kind, some other Shinra dickhead. This is speculation. However, I do have a very large history of spoiling shit via speculation, so I'm just warning you right now. Here's my assumption. The story is going to be a lot about Yuffie, obviously, but it's going to be about her relationship with this dude, right? This other dude that's seemingly from Wutai, and they're working together as far as reconnaissance in Midgar. They're going to be fighting a main bad guy, Sonnen. Yeah, this is his name. They're going to be fighting a main bad guy, yada, yada, yada. We never hear anything about this Sonnen guy in FF7 at all. And very clearly, Yuffie in the trailers alone is already a much different character than she is in the original games. And it's been pretty damn clear that FF7 Remake already has a pretty good idea of how the character should be. They've had a pretty damn rock solid stamp on the head. The characters are acting very much like they do in the original FF7, which is why FF7 Remake is great. They don't act like the way they do in Advent Children or some other games where they feel like completely different characters. The characterization's down, so why is Yuffie all chipper and different in this one? Why is she not all brash and aggressive and annoying like she is in the original FF7? Well, seemingly it's because Yuffie is going to go through a very, very, very big transformation in this DLC. She is going to lose either a best friend or something like that throughout the story. I'm fairly sure you have already seen this character and have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen, but something traumatic is going to happen to Yuffie, and it's going to change her character path that leads her back to the original FF7. And that's probably the best way you can do it. Yuffie's going to go through a transformation of some kind, and then eventually we're going to learn a lot more about the character in the next game when we get to Wutai, right? Where we actually learn about the pain and the struggle of Wutai in the war with Shinra. That's where I think a lot of these characters are going to go here. To me, that's like the best thing they can possibly do with Yuffie is take this character and make her go through some shit. Make her somehow be a part of the tragic events that happened to Midgar in FF7. And also make her become the character that we know in FF7. But I think she looks great. I think everything about her redesign looks really good. And the fact that, yes, there are team-up attacks. There are actually team-up attacks in the gameplay they've shown. Holy shit. Long story short, I think the handling of Deep Ground is cool. Yeah, this is a direct reference to her introduction in Dirge of Cerberus. She actually has a Moogle sash with her. I think that's cool. First Soldier is actually this year. See, this is also why I think they talked about FF7 Remake Part 2 as well. Like, Nomura actually specifically talked about Part 2 and was like, we haven't told you guys anything about FF7 Remake Part 2, but all he had to say was, we talked about it like late last year. The only other thing that they have to add is that FF7 Remake's Part 2's development is going smoothly. So that's it. And I guess that's good news because they could be honest with you guys, like they were with FF7 Remake's original development, and they could be like, okay, so we don't have anything to say. We're not saying shit, right? All those years where they refused to even fucking talk about FF7 Remake after 2015, like the 2016 to 2018 era, we're not saying shit. Stop asking questions type of shit. That was because the developer was changing. They took the game away from CyberConnect 2 and was making the game in-house. So it's kind of nuts that 7 Remake was made in-house at Square with about 2.5 years of development time, and the game came out the way it did. Do you think part 2 will be on PS4 or PS5? Great fucking question. The answer is not on PS4, considering the Yuffie DLC is now on PS5 only, and that is 100% confirmed. Once again, it really sucks for people that can't get a hold of PS5. They will not be able to play this DLC. I don't think that's a good idea. However, it does mean that the future development of FF7 Remake going forward is going to be strictly next gen. FF16 is doing the same thing. And it's a good thing because it'll actually allow the next game to truly take advantage of the system, right? It sucks for people that don't have PS5s. I completely sympathize with you guys in this situation. Advent Children was a game. I thought it was a movie. No, they're making it into a game. They're remaking Advent Children into a game, into a turn-based RPG. Square really likes people throwing money at FF7. Yes. I think that's what it boils down to. And here's the thing. Square's always talked about FF7 as like their goddamn golden goose. And it always has been. The character rights, the franchise rights, the marketing, the merchandising, everything regarding FF7 has always been Square Enix's golden fucking goose. The 150% embellishment of Final Fantasy VII is their golden goose is this line of dialogue right here. If you ever needed visual confirmation that Final Fantasy VII is our golden fucking goose, it is right there. Read what it says. Is this game going to be good? Hell no. This game has almost zero chance of being any good. Are we going to play it? Hell yes. Are we gonna make fun of how bad it is when we play it? And also, you know, admire some of the graphics and the scenery? Yes, we definitely will. So here's a part that we missed. In regards to the battle parts of Ever Crisis, it looks like it took the battle system from 7 Remake and made it into a command-style RPG. But can you briefly explain what the battle system will be like? The system for the original FF was based on ATB, so we'll be using and going with that game style. The materia setup will also follow the original. And weapons, materia, summons, and limit breaks can also be used, further opening the battle system. Since the game seems to be story-driven, how will you go about voice recording? We're trying to figure out what we want to do with voice recording. Since I'm involved in a numerous amount of titles, I'm kind of stuck. And that goes for voice recording as well. Because of that, we even wanted to avoid having to do any new voices. Since Ever Crisis will use 7 and other compilation titles as its base, we thought, why don't we just not have voice acting? Good idea, Nomura. Save the budget. Actually make these games in the old PS1 style of RPGs. Actually make them classic turn-based Final Fantasy games. However, it's probably necessary to have it during battle sequences, so we're considering how to do it. Well, there you go. The meaning of Intergrade. Oh, Jesus, here we go. The next installment is highly anticipated. We also have Intergrade, First Soldier, Ever Crisis, starting its service in 2022. Damn, they're calling it the Ever Crisis service. Since your work with 7 titles will not change much, you're also focusing on other titles too. We look forward to those. Yeah, we do. With the announcement of 3 new titles, can you please say a few words to fans who are also anticipating the next 7 Remake installment? Here's where he literally talks about part 2. In order to make the game compatible with PS5, there's a lot of things happening in all directions that we had to sort. However, the staff is incredibly dedicated and made it in a very timely manner. Damn, sounds like management in Square Enix is possibly going quite well. We would like you to first enjoy 7 Remake Intergrade. In regards to the title Intergrade, the original 7 was called FF7 International for the improved overseas version, so it pays homage to that original title. Okay, cute. The word Intergrade has a meaning of being middle, which serves as the midway point between 7 Remake and the next installment. Nice. It also means to move. We really think about the names of things and what the name feels and how it makes you feel and what it represents and how I feel represented. Like, they always do this with every fucking big, like, AAA Japanese game always does this shit. Also, with the revival of the compilation of FF7 through Ever Crisis and First Soldier, I was surprised when I first heard from Katase that they were planning to do both at the same time. I thought they would focus on one, but Katase said, nah, we do them both at the same time, motherfucker. motherfucker! I even remember suggesting they should narrow down their workload. However, they were all bonded by producer Ichikawa's strong enthusiasm, and he said, if we're gonna do it, we need to do it without any loss in quality. It seemed like an impossible request at first, but we overcame the battle and got in the clear. I'm happy that we're able to announce these games. We will also open a beta to get feedback, so I hope you look forward to that First Soldier beta. As well as the next installment of 7 Remake. I hope you are able to thoroughly enjoy these 3 new titles. Kitase, friend or foe? Well, Kitase wanted everyone to die except 3 characters on the return bombing run, going back to Midgar in Disc 3. Kitase wanted to kill everyone except 3 chosen characters. And Nomura was the one that talked him out of that. So the battle system will be slightly different than 7 Remake, and you will not be able to control Sonnen. Wow. The player will control Yuffie. In the tactical mode, you can give commands to Sonnen, though. And for new gameplay elements, Yuffie and Sonnen will be able to battle together. I think it's because they didn't want to make Sonnen a fully playable character. You know, okay, I just figured out the answer. Sonnen isn't in the next game chat, so of course he's not playable. You know? All the work they're doing in this on Yuffie is going to transfer directly over to part 2. It's not because he dies. No, it's because he's not a playable character in the next game. They're not going to spend time and budget on a character that you're never going to play as. No, they're going to make Yuffie way more important. That's exactly what this is going to do. They're going to integrate Yuffie more directly into the story and where the Wutai Midgar, the Wutai and Shinra battle is going to be. This shit has been a doozy, chat. I think we got everything. Right?
My name is...
I think we've covered almost everything that has happened news-wise for the 3 Final Fantasy VII games that they announced in one day.